How are the Commanders set up for year one with Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, and Jayden Daniels? We're examining the state of the Commanders roster today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who make Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every day, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
Joseph. Hello.
Hello, Kyle. I would like to... Can I take command right here?
Please, that's the spirit of the whole show, is taking command.
Okay. So a few weeks ago, we will get to the Commanders. Trust me, we will get to the Commanders. A few weeks ago, we, of course, learned that Utah's getting the Arizona Coyotes, the NHL team. A timeout has been called.
Mike McDaniel style. Way too early timeout. Do you see the new Jazz uniforms?
No. I saw the Vikings' new ice white, whatever they have going on.
It wouldn't have killed you to put a little color into it. Take your uniforms and put them in the washer with a bunch of bleach, and that's going to be your alternative uniforms. I would have liked a little something.
The only thing I would change, I would make the horn on the helmet purple. That's the only change I would make. The rest of it, I'm on board.
Give me something, right? It's too whitewashed, I think. Go ahead. So go ahead, and then I'm going to send you in the chat for us the Utah uniforms.
So after you and I have already discussed their, coming up with their mascot nickname. After 520,000 votes from fans.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, this comes from Chris Johns. Utah's NHL team is down to 6 possible names. These are the finalists. The Utah Blizzard, the Utah Hockey Club, Utah Mammoth, Utah Outlaws, Utah Venom, and Utah Yeti.
I guess it's got to be the Yeti, but
yeah,
I'm sure that will win.
It should. Now that we're down to this, I know that you had a compelling case for that. Was it the Raptors? Or some
Utah
type of
Raptor. The Utah Raptor is literally the name of a dinosaur.
Because that would be
a mega-sized velociraptor that they found the skeleton in Utah. You should be the Utah Raptors. But
give me the Yeti. Yeti's the first choice. If you have to go with the second one, we got to get the Mammoth in there, right?
I'm not gonna lie. When we were at 5 and Yeti wasn't announced, I was getting ready to say just move the team again. Like
I gave them to you in alphabetical order.
That bad, I was just gonna say just move them again.
I need to see these Utah Jazz uniforms.
It's in the chat. It's in your chat.
Because they have been all over the place with kind of their color schemes and everything.
Their roots.
All right. Oh yeah, this is John Stockton, Karl Malone. We're back, baby.
That team's winning the title next year.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough not to.
Those, holy cow, they look good.
Yeah, I don't know if you
get the logo of like the modern, the most recent uniforms for like the blackout alternate.
Yeah, this is exceptional. This is exceptional.
But the mountain range with the purple, I said yes. You guys are on to something now.
NBA Finals kicks off tonight. Go Mavs, right? Like, go Mavs?
Our Mavs, absolutely.
Our Mavs.
You ever root for the city of Boston in anything?
Never. So our Mavs do it. Blow up their season, right? They were like the number 1 seed in the East and all that. They played all these teams in the playoffs without like their best player and all that. Correct. It's time to take down the Celtics. Go Mavs.
Also, big fan of how Luka's like been a stone cold killer in these playoffs.
Yeah, digging it. And him and Kyrie play really well together. I've just kind of started to watch the NBA during the playoffs and getting into it just a little bit.
And now we need to get you back into hockey too. We got the finals start on Saturday.
Who's playing? It's the Panthers and who?
The Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, and that coach took a shot at the Bills. That coach took a shot at the Bills.
The Edmonton coach took a shot at the Bills. Our Panthers.
Our Panthers, baby. Let's go.
Also, the entire country of Canada is rooting for the Oilers because they
Yeah.
haven't won the Cup since '93 is the last time a Canadian team won the Cup.
Even
so
more
there's
reason.
a bunch of storylines. We're 5 minutes in.
Yeah, we better talk
We
about
should
the
take
Washington.
command.
Yeah, and look, something you and I can unite on. Again, we've now united on 3 things, or 2 things. The third one's going to be this. Our favorite teams, the Bills and the Dolphins, have both taken Super Bowl L's to Washington.
That's right. What a glorious segue. Nice reminder. I appreciate.
Yeah, we have the Urban Meyer. We both took L's to Urban Meyer, right?
And Washington in the Super Bowl.
All right, do it.
This is a very different team, obviously, than last year from the top down. Ownership, general manager, football operations, head coach, the roster. You sit here and look at the free agency recap of all the players in and out for Washington. Got a little Houston vibe to it, right?
Ooh.
All the new. Now, I'm not saying they're going to turn and be 10-7 this year. I think they certainly have their challenges ahead of them, but that level of magnitude of new is kind of where I look at this team and where they're at. If you're not familiar with the project, if you're a Washington fan or you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. We hope you hit subscribe. We are watching all 32 teams, and we're classifying all the players on all the rosters in a various number of buckets. Roster cornerstones, quality starters, adequate starters, quality depth, replacement level starters, rookies, incomplete evaluations, non-roster caliber players, and practice squad caliber players. Those buckets all have different values, and we are positionally weighing each position room across your roster. And at the end of it, it gives us an aggregate number, and that's kind of your roster score. And we're going to get to all 32 teams. We'll have all of the teams ranked as far as how we view their rosters. Then we'll put it through the lens of, we'll put coaching on top of it. And that's kind of our power rankings for the start of the season. And then we update it every quarter of the season as we work our way through. So that's the project. We show our work here on the show. And Joe, we're going to get into the Commanders' offense around a rookie quarterback in Jayden Daniels. So what stands out the most to you for Washington around Jayden Daniels?
It's the offensive line. And I think it's probably better than it was last year, which is a pretty good place to be. And I thought they were kind of a mess with the O-line and schematically with Bieniemy and what they asked Sam Howell to do. Like, it was kind of tough to watch at times. And so I think with the emergence of Sam Cosmi at right guard, let's start there. That's your building block. That's your best player on this offensive line. I think you've got a stable player next to him in Andrew Wiley as a right tackle. Tyler Biadasz is here at center. You paid him. We'll see on that. You know, I don't know that I look at him as an upper echelon center, but I think he's passable, and that's better than what they've had. And then you've made an investment in Nick Allegretti. That's a bit of a swing, right? I mean, this is a reserve player for Kansas City. You paid him $8 million per. You need him to be a thing for you. And then hopefully your left tackle between Corn Lucas, between Brandon Coleman and Braden. Yeah, I just said it like I was his best friend my whole life. I called him Corn Lucas.
That's gonna stick. He's gonna be Corn on the show for now till the end of time.
Well, I'm not sure how many more times we're gonna be talking about him at 33 years old.
You might not be. Listen, Ozzy Mailata's come up quite a bit.
Yeah. So listen, between one of those 3 guys, you need a left tackle. But I think this offensive line coming together is going to be really critical for Jayden Daniels, who's an undersized quarterback that likes to push the ball down the field, that holds onto the ball, but holds on the ball usually to run. I think this offensive line coming together is first and foremost for this offense.
Yeah. I like the positional flexibility between Braden Daniels, I think, can be a tackle and a guard. Brandon Coleman has been projected by some as a guard, some as a tackle. We'll see where he ultimately ends up landing. You have Michael Dieter, who's capable of playing center and guard. I think Ricky Stromberg could play guard as well as being a center when he got drafted coming out. You got a lot of flexibility here. And I think that's really valuable for trying to find the best chemistry amongst this unit, which you're starting from scratch. What are you trying not to laugh at?
I'm still thinking about Corn Lucas, man.
I've been waiting for you to burst out laughing the entire time I've been talking. Every time I look up,
I'm looking up his Pro Football Reference, hoping that there's a nickname here of Corn. You know,
of Corn. Yeah, I don't think so. The other thing that I like about this room quite a bit, I like the tight end room a lot. With Zach Ertz as a veteran and Ben Sinnott as who was my second ranked tight end, I had a second round grade on him. I think he's going to be a really good professional player. I think he's got the receiving upside of Zach Ertz with the blocking profile that you would expect from John Bates, right? To just kind of, I think Sinnott is an all-in-one player that eventually with time could be what the best versions, maybe not the best version of Zach Ertz, but like a good receiving tight end and a good blocking tight end. And so many tight ends in the league that end up taking majority snaps are one or the other. I think the fact that he can be both and he has influences for guys that have been in the league to help him in both phases of that is a really nice blend and combination. And look, Kliff Kingsbury, say what you would about Kliff, but they got some good run out of the tight end position and specifically Zach Ertz. Yeah. So I think that's going to be an important position. They invested a lot in middle of the field targets and receivers. When you consider they spent the 100th overall pick in Luke McCaffrey, they spent a top 100 pick on Ben Sinnott. They go out and they get Austin Ekeler in free agency for all the things that he can do as a pass catching back out of the backfield. They invested a lot to go with what we had considered to be the strength of their receiving profile and skill profile, which was their outside receivers, most notably Terry McLaurin.
It'll be a big benefit for Ben Sinnott to have Zach Ertz in that room. Young player with a savvy vet. Excited to see that come together. Excited to talk more about the offensive skill players on the other side of it, so be sure to stick with us. Today's podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than what's going on with our favorite sports teams, and it's important to get that off your chest every once in a while. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It's not just for those who've experienced major trauma. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Just visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
You get something you want to get off your chest with the skill group, so go ahead.
No, this is just my segue. It was my segue there.
Okay.
You got to love Terry McLaurin in the building here for Jayden Daniels, who can win vertically. And Terry McLaurin's kind of proven to be quarterback proof when it comes to production, right? He's found a way to be very consistent with production, despite not having any consistency and even quality throwing him the football. I think the big part of this skill group to me is Jahan Dotson, who, man, that I think he was going to be the next thing after his rookie season. And you didn't see that really happen in year two, right? You didn't see him take that step. I don't know how much that's Sam Howell, how much that's Eric Bieniemy, but I think this opportunity with Kliff Kingsbury with the new quarterback gets me excited because I think Jahan Dotson's got that dog in him, right? Like I think he could be an Emmanuel Sanders type player. And then look at that wide receiver 3. You mentioned Luke McCaffrey is a pretty high pick given his recent transition from playing quarterback. You know, there's a lot of natural athleticism there, but I'm not sleeping on Olamide Zaccheaus, man. I've always had a little soft spot for him ever since his days at Virginia. I was hopeful for more last year with him as part of the Eagles. It didn't really come together. I think that offensively that team was a bit of a joke, and Brian Johnson as the OC, it didn't really come together. But a lot of flashes during his time in Atlanta. Maybe this is the right opportunity. You go back to Arizona with Kliff and got a little bit out of Greg Dortch at times, right? So I'm excited to see who among McCaffrey, Olamide Zaccheaus, is De'Ami Brown. Is it going to come together? Maybe not, but who that third guy is. But of course, Dotson being the real guy that I think can move the needle here. Is
there a single receiver that has more pressure to stay healthy on him this year, though, than Terry McLaurin? Of the teams that we have done.
Oh, the teams we've done, because I was thinking about Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yes,
right away.
For sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is our 16th team, so we've done half the league.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
And just kind of looking at the offensive summaries tab that we have, where we have, like, rows that are all the teams, and you can kind of see comparisons for all the rooms against each other that are color-coded. McLaurin is such a staple of this group.
Yeah.
That I don't think his value can be overstated in any way, shape, or form. Also, a little love to Brian Robinson.
Yes.
I know we mentioned Austin Ekeler coming in. I would still want Brian Robinson to be your primary ball carrier. And I know Ekeler Been a very productive player, probably a disproportionate reputation due to all the touchdowns in fantasy football and all the balls he caught for your PPR leagues and so on and so forth. But just Ekeler at this stage of his career versus Brian Robinson as a young physical player that's got good power. I think he's good in pass pro. I think he can be a do-it-all type of player. If this offensive line is able to get some consistency with creating gaps, and I think Jayden Daniels can help with that, then I think Brian Robinson should be in line for a very productive season this year.
One of my splits that I unpacked when studying Brian Robinson in preparation for this podcast was his yards before contact and yards after contact numbers.
Yeah.
Give this guy some room, man. His career average per carry is 4, right on the dot.
Yep.
His yards after contact for his career is 2.8. I mean, my guy's getting 1.2 yards on average for his career. I mean, he's getting all these yards himself. Let's get this scheme going. Like you mentioned, I think Jayden, that's a great call out that Jayden Daniels can help with that. But yeah, definitely want him to be the primary ball carrier. And I think that allows you to get the best out of Austin Ekeler too, where, the pass catching acumen is very clear. But I thought he wore down a bit last season as a runner. We had high expectations for him and that Kellen Moore offense in Los Angeles. Didn't really come together. I think continuing to lean on Brian Robinson allows you to get the most out of him. And of course, Austin Ekeler and what's left in the tank there.
So we're going to go to defense next, but I did want to ask you quickly. We don't really touch on this with a lot of the teams that we do. We don't really make this a conversation point.
You can ask me about the long snapper.
What are we doing with these special teams? Like even Ramiz Ahmed is the kicker right now.
Yeah.
What are we doing right now?
Well, it's not good, right?
The 3-person specialist trio for Washington
is not
good. Pressway's pretty established.
Well, he's had 2 bad seasons in a row. He's one of the worst punters in the league last year.
Okay, but he's still established.
Last 2 years, he's been know what it is. He's regressing before our eyes.
What?
But even Tyler Ott is the long snapper. Like, the way that a long snapper is good is that they're on the same team forever. Tyler Ott, man, he's bouncing around. This is going to be his 3rd team since 2021. It's going to be his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 team so far in the league. If like if you're a good long snapper, you're just somebody's long snapper forever. So yeah, I think it's a good call out.
It was in the spirit of me doing a 33-minute episode on the new kickoff rules for Locked On Dolphins today that I wanted to ask you about the special teams unit for Washington on today's show.
There's your plug. You want to learn more about how the Miami Dolphins are going to be a real problem for everybody, turning these kickoff returns into wide zone.
Did you see the diagram?
I didn't see.
I went on Canva and made a whole diagram of like the landing zone and where the return team has to line up and where the kicking team has to line up. I was real proud of it.
Congratulations on that. Big flex for Miami. If I'm going against the Dolphins, I'm kicking that ball through the back of the end zone. Here's the 30-yard line. Congratulations. I'm not dealing with whatever combination of 6 ridiculously fast guys you could put back there and turning it into an outside zone run play.
Let's talk about the Commanders' defense.
Take command back of this conversation. Yes.
Yeah. Free agency showing up big here for them. When you consider Dorance Armstrong gets more than $10 million per season on average with a contract in free agency to come here. Bobby Wagner gets a reasonably sized free agent contract. Frankie Louvu becomes one of the rarefied $10+ million year linebackers to come sign here in free agency. Jeremy Chinn coming into this defense to play for Dan Quinn gets a free agent contract to come here. And then you have Johnny Newton and Mike Sanristill as early draft picks that kind of fly in the face of Phi Mathis and Quan Martin as a couple of early draft picks that you've had in the past couple of NFL drafts. So kind of an indictment there perhaps. But that's what, as I look at the defense and I see, I didn't mention Michael Davis yet, did I?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so it's there's a lot of new, and Michael Davis flies in the face of Emmanuel Forbes potentially. So I think Dan Quinn coming in, I don't know how much he loved what he saw on tape, and understandably so. They were pretty rough defensively last year, whether it was Jack Del Rio or Riverboat Ron calling the defense. But it's a lot of new to complement what has seemingly been for the past 5 years the staple of Washington, which is your 2 defensive tackles.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is you can just feel the Dan Quinn, Bobby Wagner,
Yeah.
hello, right? Bringing Jeremy Chinn in is going to be surely like the Marquise Bell type player for this team. But the headline that came out earlier today about Jamin Davis getting reps as an edge rusher, that's Dan Quinn too. I mean, Micah Parsons, I am not saying he's Micah Parsons. So chill out anybody that wants to lose their mind that I said that. But taking an off-ball linebacker, having them rush the passer. Think about Vic Beasley in Atlanta. Think about Bruce Irvin. This has been a thing for Dan Quinn. And Jamin Davis is a heck of an athlete, man. He's 6'3" and a quarter. He's got
the best thing about him, right?
33-inch arms.
Elite athlete.
Those are longer arms than Parsons. Guy just ran a 4.48 with a 1.53 10 and a 42-inch vert. I mean, this guy's got some juice. And there's no place for him at linebacker now with Wagner and Luvu as paid guys.
Right.
Contract year. Why not, man? Put him on the Baron Browning plan, right? See what he can do rushing the passer. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued by that idea, and I think it's a very creative way to try to get some value out of Jamin Davis. And what's an unusual year for him as a contract year player that's no longer part of really the identity of what he got drafted into.
Can I be honest though? Like, what are your realistic expectations for that? Because I look at the roster, Dorance Armstrong, excuse me. They also signed Dante Fowler, who came from Dallas, right? So you got two infusion of guys that have played the scheme. You got Cleveland Farrell. You got KJ Henry. You signed Frankie Luvu, and his versatility is well documented for all the things that he can do from blitzing from depth and coming from the.
Sounds like a good problem to have, Kyle Crabbs.
It's a great problem to have, but just realistically speaking of it through the lens of Jamin Davis, like, is it intriguing? Yes. Is it fascinating? Yes.
I just watching Micah Parsons line up in the A gaps and out athleting interior offensive linemen. Come on.
If I speak, I will not speak. Him and Jeremy Chinn are a couple of reclamation projects. Is that a fair way to state it? For Dan Quinn, that maybe you find lightning in a bottle with the right role within your defense that you can hit on players that have maybe otherwise been capped. And I think the unfortunate thing for Jamin Davis is it looked like there was a little bit of a stability in his play. Yeah. And then the scheme change happens. And it's like, we're going to spend in free agency and spend like $20 million to bring in two new linebackers to play the scheme.
All right, we got more to talk about with the defense. We got to come to consensus as well on Washington, so be sure to stick with us. The NFL schedule is here, folks. You want to get to some of these games this season. Plenty of high-profile games across the entire country and, international as well. Check out Game Time. Game Time is the fast and easy way to purchase tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. The app is awesome. It's easy to navigate. They specialize in last-minute tickets. They also have flash deals. They give you a seat view, so you know exactly what to expect when you get to the venue. But probably my favorite thing about Game Time is the all-in prices. You don't have to worry about surprise fees coming at the end of the transaction. They give you the all-in price from the beginning of the purchase. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
What do you got?
Are you concerned about corner, man?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. No, I will say this. I thought Benjamin St. Juste played his best career season this past season. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think getting him more outside reps makes sense. I never understood him as a slot, right? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, Ron?
Don't think the 6'3" guy play with the nickel, huh? 6'3" corner guy and play with nickel.
So that's exciting. Him, Davis, and then Sanristill. We both like Sanristill a ton. So.
Sanristill's a stud. So yeah, I like that. I saw a picture of Emmanuel Forbes with some kid at I don't know if it was a youth football camp or something, and I thought Forbes was the kid.
How are you not going to send me that picture, man?
I'll see if I can find it. But let me finish the thought. Depth at outside corner, I think, is a question. Emmanuel Forbes maybe can alleviate that a little bit, but Castro Fields is not for me. I've done the Noah Benogany experience for 3 years. I know what that is. No, thank you. Guy couldn't even place teams in Miami. James Pierre, like Quan Martin, had a really rough year last year, and I know he was a rookie, and I know it was a bad defense. So, like, I don't want to give up on that one because I liked Quan Martin. But Michael Davis was down last year. I thought Michael Davis had a good season in 2022. He did not play well last season for the Chargers. So, yes, I think there's fair questions of St. Juice finally playing outside, but not a big sample size of doing it. A rookie in Sanristill. Michael
What a good
Davis
scheme
had a
fit,
bad
I think.
year.
Good scheme fit St. Juice outside, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I would also shout out as far as just concerns or things that maybe bum me out a little bit. Finding out that Johnny Newton needed the foot surgery for the other foot is a big gut punch because he was one of my favorite defensive players in the class, and hopefully he'll be back long term. But I don't know how well that lends to him getting on the field, particularly early this season with him.
Especially when your depth behind Allen and Payne it's not intriguing, right? Like you kind of needed Johnny Newton to be part of this. I mean, Phi Mathis, John Ridgeway, those guys are A-gap defenders that have not been very good to this point in their young NFL careers.
I'm searching
for the picture.
Yes.
All right. What do we got to come to consensus on?
There's not much.
All right.
I think it was like Zach Ertz.
I had him higher graded than you. And I put a note there. I said I could come down on Zach Ertz.
Yeah. So we just need to come to consensus with what we think the ceiling is for, like, pretend it's week 18. How many snaps has Zach Ertz played and how many snaps has Ben Sinnott played?
Well, when's the last time Zach Ertz was available in week 18?
Well, I guess that kind of goes to my point.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think he's ideally at this point in his career, he's more of a quality depth option. 100% there with you.
He might get leaned on more early.
Yeah.
But, here it is. I found it. You tell me which one of these two is the NFL cornerback. Go ahead.
Of course, I clicked on the Utah Jazz pictures.
That's fine. You can look at those again.
I did. I was enjoying them. Yeah, I don't, brother. Forbes is the one on the right? With the white shirt on? No, he's not. No, you're kidding. You're kidding. You're kidding. No, surely he's the one on the right.
Perfect.
There's no way.
He's
Forbes is the one on the left. You're sure?
Yes.
You're sure?
Yes.
There's no way. Why? It makes sense. So he's got the Emmanuel Forbes camp shirt on.
The other one's got the Emmanuel Forbes camp shirt on, which means he's a participant in the camp.
That's unbelievable.
The caption.
Kyle, I would have bet a lot. I would have bet a lot the guy on the right was Emmanuel Forbes.
This is from Boorish_sports. Why does Emmanuel Forbes look like one of the youths at his own football camp? Anyway, so Zach Ertz, we're going to put as a quality depth option in an ideal world, knowing full well he's going to get more
all the things that you send me text message wise. This didn't make the cut.
That didn't make the cut.
Unbelievable.
I'm going to be honest, Joe. I think behind that, it's maybe. I thought about giving a little love to Cleveland Ferrell. We have him as a quality depth option.
Yeah,
I thought about like maybe adequate start. He's played almost 500 snaps the last 2 seasons. Yeah. You know, it's for some teams it's rotationally starter reps.
My thought process there when I classified Cleveland Ferrell as quality depth is I said to myself, ideally he's your defensive end 3.
And I think that's totally fair. So maybe Dante Fowler ends up taking that other spot opposite Dorance Armstrong, and that'll play itself out.
Yeah, I mean, and Fowler's been kind of a low snap. He's been productive, but a lower snap guy the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other than that, John Ridgeway. I mean, it was mainly ancillary players other than Ertz.
Yeah. He will be inconsequential in the overall grand scheme of things. I just thought I want to see more out of Ridgeway. I really liked him coming out.
And they got a nice look. I think they got a nice waiver with him when they plucked him off.
Yeah,
literally waivers from, was it Dallas, who punted on him like way too quick.
Washington just got beat up front all year long.
Yeah,
even John Allen wasn't his best last year. Particularly defending the run. So
I'd be interested to see if any of the trade storylines there play themselves out between Allen and Payne, a couple of guys that are big contract guys. I certainly look at this roster. There's some intrigue. I think they spent in free agency that kind of gives you certain expectation that they want to compete, but it is a blank slate kind of like foundational year for them.
With their with their quarterback. They took the quarterback already. So that's the entire fascinating layer to this whole team build, right? Like your quarterback's here. So
well, I think that goes to your comment about developing players around the developing quarterback. I think they've done a nice job avoiding that.
I agree
with what they spent in free agency. They still took a premium draft pick with a top 100 pick for Brandon Coleman to add to the mix and give them more flexibility there. Getting Ertz, you have McLaurin, you got some depth in the backfield with Ekeler and Robinson. I think all of that is really promising to figure out exactly what you have in Jayden Daniels this year. That is going to do it for us here on Locked On NFL Scouting. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He is Joe Marino. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Make it a great rest of your day. We will be back tomorrow to stack all of the position rooms in the NFC East and rank them, which we are looking forward to upsetting you about. So come back and see us then.